Great. Thank you, Jordan. So here's what I'd like to do. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Tony Dicello, and I'm with MAPS, and I work with the coaches of MAPS coaching. And so I'm going to kind of go over the call. We're going to plan for 45 minutes. If it runs over, I'll let you know ahead of time. It's got certain things I want to cover. So I'm going to ask everybody a really important question. How many of you would like to be in Gary's 100%, his group of 100 people that he masterminds with? How many would like to be in that group? Say aye.
I would.
I would.
So everybody would. Perfect. Aye. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a taste of a Gary Keller call, or a Gary Keller mastermind. I get the privilege of sitting in all of Gary's mastermind, and I've been doing that. In fact, I was part of the first one he did in 1996, and which only lasted, it was to be 2 days, and it lasted about 4 hours, and Gary said we weren't ready to mastermind, so he sent everybody home. So it's going to be maybe not quite that kind of a call, and we're going to kind of go over really what Gary looks at when he's sitting down with his mastermind group, and that's what we're going to do right now. So here's what Gary talked about in his last mastermind, and he did this also with Keller Williams, all the people at International. What he started off talking about was creating a life of wealth. How do you create wealth in your life? And kind of just getting into the point of, is everybody living a lifestyle of wealth? So if you're going to talk, would you mute yourself, *6, please? And please don't interfere with the rest of the people that want to participate in the call.
Yeah, so, also if you're driving, we can hear you, we can hear the wind through your car. So *6 to mute out.
Great, thank you. I didn't hear that myself. So what he really talked about is how do we create financial wealth in our life? And he said, it doesn't need, financial wealth is the byproduct of certain things. And if we don't have the wealth we want, then we just have to look at what are the things we're going to do to create that wealth. And here's what Gary says a financially wealthy person is. Someone who has accumulated the wealth that delivers the unearned income, and unearned income, and what do we call that in Keller Williams? What kind of income? Anybody know? Passive income. Right. So it's a person that has accumulated passive income necessary to become a self-actualized person and achieve their personal life mission. So do you have enough personal passive income that tomorrow you could stop working and live the life you want to live? He says that's what a financially wealthy person is. So if you only need $25,000 a year to live, then you just create to live the life you want, which would be to contribute and give as much as you want, provide the life for your kids that you want, the schooling and the education they want, to travel, to be with grandkids. If you're in that point, just living that life, have you created it in a passive way, not an active way? Because he said we really can't be self-actualized until we don't have to get up every day, or we get up every day and say, today I'm going to go to work, tomorrow I don't have to. In fact, I might just take the next year off. And you've got enough passive income to make that statement. And he says that's what we want to do, live a life with purpose. And that purpose is based on our mission, vision, values, beliefs, and perspectives. So if we haven't got that written out, that's one thing we definitely want to create. What is your personal mission, your personal vision, your personal values, your personal beliefs, and your personal perspective? Then he says, building a life with great purpose, he said, are you a person that's intentional? Or are you a person that's the accidental tourist? Kind of just whatever happens, happens. Are you making a life or are you making a living? So when we create wealth, we're really going to make a living, a life that will be with passive income rather than just going to job every day to pay the bills. So do you follow your own plan or do you follow somebody else's plan? And he says, is the theme of your life no time to kill, or is your theme of your life just killing time? And he says, are you really living a life of purpose, or are you just living? And then he said, okay, I'm going to help you all create wealth. And he says, here's it, and I'd just like you to write this down. How do you create wealth? It's simple. He boiled it down to 6 words. Appropriate actions at the appropriate time. Appropriate actions at the appropriate times. So from your coaching, what do you think that means? Anybody want to share? Because this is a mastermind. Gary does have people answer him when he asks a question. So what do you think that means? What does that mean to you? The appropriate
Set your
action.
goal.
Pardon?
Set your goal, have a plan, and then follow the plan. So if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist, and following a schedule.
Yep. That's great. That's really what it boils down to. And then making sure everything in your schedule will do what?
It should reach your goal.
That's exactly right. So everything you do has a purpose, and that's going to be to get you to your goal. So it's not only the appropriate, it's the appropriate actions at the appropriate time. So it's in your calendar, and then it's the necessary actions that are in your calendar. So it may be lead generation 5 hours a day, lead follow-up 2 hours a day, and then basically going on appointments and doing them over the phone and taking all the listings over the phone may be the appropriate actions at the appropriate time. You just may need to spend more time creating the appointments and going on the appointments, and there might be an easier way. Well, then he said, okay, we're going to do the appropriate actions at the appropriate time, and here's what he said. We have an opportunity to do that every minute of every day because we have the opportunity to choose. So think of this. At 5:30 or whenever your alarm goes off, what choice do we have when the alarm goes off?
Get up or stay in bed.
Get up or stay in bed. And he said everything we do then becomes a choice. He said, his dog who runs around in the yard, and when Sophie was his first dog, he said she ran around in the yard. She didn't pick up after herself because she couldn't. She didn't mow the lawn that she was in because she couldn't. And he said the difference between Sophie and us, which is a great Garyism, the difference between us and a dog is we make choices. We have choices. Sophie didn't have the ability to have a choice. So he said, basically, we have to make choices when it comes to these decisions of the appropriate actions at the appropriate time. I choose to get up. And let's say your lead generation starts at 9 o'clock. You have 2 choices. What's the 2 choices?
Start generating or don't.
Start dialing or you don't. Yeah, and I was taught many, many years ago that we basically, every 15 seconds, have the ability to make a choice. So it's 9 o'clock. No, I'm not going to start at 9 o'clock. 15 seconds later, well, do I start at 9 o'clock in 15 seconds? Nope, I don't think I will. It's 9:05. Do you want to start at 9:05? No, I think I'll wait a little bit longer. So we have those choices, and we have to learn to control our choices so that they fit back into our appropriate actions at the appropriate time. So he says we just have to make choices, and or not make a choice. And he said, you create wealth by making the right choices. Then he says, okay, let's be productive. So not only you're going to allocate the time and you're going to do the right actions at the right time, he says, let's make them productive actions. So I want you to write this down. Productive. Getting the most out of what you do. Getting the most out of what you do. So when we're on the phones, or we're door knocking, or we're doing a listing presentation, are you the most productive you can be at that time? In other words, are you skilled enough to make sure when you're at the listing appointment, you'll do what?
Take the listing.
Get it signed. Take the
listing. Get it signed. Don't walk out the door without the listing. Otherwise, when you walk out the door without the listing, have you been productive for that hour or hour and a half? Yes or no?
No.
No. Because you were there for an hour and you didn't get it signed. And you go, wow, I just lost an hour. I wasn't productive in that hour. So when we're on the phones, are we setting an appointment with every 5 contacts? Are we setting an appointment with every 25 contacts? Are we setting an appointment with every 125 contacts? So we have to be skillful enough that every minute we spend in the business is productive because we're highly skilled at the production. We're highly skilled at prospecting. We're highly skilled at negotiating contracts. We're highly skilled at our listing appointment. Diana's last year of selling, before she became the team leader in the market center she was in, she went on 162 appointments and took 160 listings. And the 2 she didn't take, she chose not to take them. She walked out. So that's productive. Not only that, her average listing presentation was 27 minutes. So you go on a listing appointment for an hour and a half, she could conceivably take 3 listings. So being the most productive, getting the most out of what you do. Now, here's another thing he said. Getting the most out of your money. So he said, if you're going to buy a marketing program, don't invest $1,000 into a marketing program to make 1,000. Does anybody know what Gary believes for every dollar you spend, what should be your minimum return? Does anybody know that number?
Minimum of 3?
A minimum of times 4. You put in 1,000, Gary says if you don't get back 4, reevaluate it, kind of red light, green light it at that point. So I put in 1,000 in a marketing program, I ought to get back 4, minimum. Maybe 3. And he said, I really would have rather have you stay at 4. And he said the goal, 10 times. Put in 1,000, get 10,000 back. That's how you create wealth. You don't create wealth putting in 1,000 and getting 2 back. Because here's what happens. If for any reason a marketing program falters a little bit, now do you even get, sometimes you might not even get your 1,000 back. So he said you're running on too tight of an edge when you invest 1,000 to get 2,000. That's why I'd like to see, you invest 4 in the market falters or the program isn't as good as you thought, and it falters a little bit, at least you're getting 2 back. Just don't put yourself in a position where if it falters, you don't get your money back. And now you lose it all. So hold your money accountable, basically. Gary taught me that. I met Gary in 1994, and that's one of the first things I ever remembered about Gary Keller, because I never thought of it, is holding your money accountable, getting the most out of your money. Then he says, how many of you have teams that have staff? Say aye.
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 There's a few of you. Great. So here's what he said. Getting the most out of your team or staff getting the most out of what they do based on their job descriptions. So if they're a buyer's agent, getting the most out of them would be, well, how many deals can you do? Okay, I'm gonna blow your brains a little bit right now. I talked to a lady today because I'm wanting to learn her model in depth. She's a buyer's agent. She built her business following the Keller Williams model. So when she became a buyer's agent, following the Keller Williams growth model, what was the first position she hired on her team if she followed the Keller Williams team building model?
Assistant. NEA.
Yeah, an admin, right. Then she hired a second admin and no buyer's agents, no showing assistant, sorry. She did 110 deals her first year as a buyer's agent with 2 admin. I just talked to her this morning. Last year, with 2 showing assistants and 2 admin, she did 182 closings. I talked to her today. She's going to hire a 3rd showing assistant, and she's going to hire a closing coordinator. Basically, pretty much an inspection negotiator is what that position is going to be. And she said, by doing that, I should close somewhere between 220 and 230 closings as a buyer's agent. 3 admin, 3 showing assistants, 220 closings. Now I'm going to ask you, are you getting the most out of your team members? You don't have to answer.
That model.
I just want you to contemplate those numbers. And she's not in a big town. She's in Springfield, Missouri, folks. She's not in Chicago, and she's not in L.A., and she's not in Dallas, Texas. She is in Springfield, Missouri. And she said, I think with 1 more showing assistant and 1 more admin, maybe 2 more showing assistants, she feels she could possibly hit 300 closings. Now, are you getting the most out of your team, or are they doing the most they can do? So Gary basically said, how do we get that productive? We master something. And with your team, the buyer agent is not a buyer's agent. They will become master buyer agents. The admin will become master admin people. Help everybody become masters at what they do. Master their business. Gary says master something. And if you don't master something, you have a mutual fund life. And a mutual fund is you get a little bit from this business, a little bit from this part of the business, a little bit, rather than mastering one thing and being like that lady as a buyer's agent and do 220 closings. What if you had 2 buyer agent arms, each doing that? Even if you had them doing, 150 each, your buyer team would be 2 buyer's agents, 4 admin, 2 admin, 2 showing assistants on each team. So you'd have 2 buyer's agents, 4 admin, and 4 lists and 4 showing assistants, and you'd be closing 300 deals.
Is she going to speak at Mega Camp?
Gary's working on that.
That'd be
and
great.
If not, I'm going to see what I can do in helping her expose what she does. Because it's not complicated. She said, I'm just following the models. And then he said, we just have to, when we master it, we have the opportunity to create this wealth that he talked about. Then he said, people complain, well, how much wealth do I need? And he said, as much wealth as you need then to go back to accumulate the wealth that delivers in the unearned passive income necessary to become self-actualized and achieve their personal life mission. And I was taught this many years ago. When you have wealth, then you look at things differently. And here's a comment. If it's too expensive, That means what?
You don't have enough money.
You can't afford
You're
it.
not wealthy enough.
Yeah, you're not wealthy enough. That's exactly right. It's only too expensive if you can't afford it. So you go, well, so you just have to then create the wealth to fit into that lifestyle you want. And here's a comment he made, which I thought was interesting. People that don't have wealth spend an hour looking for a pair of shoes. He gave the example, looking for a pair of shoes to get the best deal. The people that create wealth spend that hour looking for investments or learning more about wealth creation so they don't have to care about what the price of shoes are. Interesting thought, isn't it? And that's the difference between people that have wealth and people that don't, is where are you spending your time? Are you spending your time studying? Are you spending your time in the first 113 pages of MREI and learning about investments and learning about money? And then he said the last thing is we have a dysfunctional relationship with money. Everybody does, he said, including me. Because if I didn't have a dysfunctional relationship with money, I would be one of the richest people in the world. Which, right now, the Forbes 400 richest 400 just came out, and Jeff Bezos on the first day, founder of Amazon, was number one at $90.6 billion. And then later that day, Microsoft stock went up, and Gates passed him at $90.7 or 8 billion. So they're arguing over $100,000 when they're worth $90 billion each. So Gary said, I do have a dysfunction with money somewhere, otherwise I'd be in there. Now we at Keller Williams, and this is my belief is we at Keller Williams have a very unique dysfunction with money. We're the only real estate company in the world that does this, and it creates for us, I think, a dysfunction with money. Where do you think that is? Think about Keller Williams, what we do that nobody else does, and we have a profit share.
Profit share.
Profit share. How many of you are developing a large amount? You don't have to answer it out loud. Just ask yourself. How many of you have a large amount of profit share coming in? Everybody will write these two numbers down right under each other. Write down 201, comma, 000. Then right below that, write down 208, comma, 000. What do those two add up to?
409.
409,000. That was the number one profit share earners, profit share checks for June and July. It's free money. It's free money to us. It's free money to us. So when we think we're doing well, there's the model. The model is the McKissicks made $409,000 in June and July. They will probably do $1.8 million this year in profit share. So when I look at my profit share checks and go, oh my gosh, I'm a little off track here and something I need to look at. I don't need to spend my whole career on it. They never did. They built a real estate team and built a profit share tree at the same time. So, we just have to look at it and say my dysfunction with free money is I'm not getting enough of it, and I need to spend a little time now to build for the future. So we at Keller Williams have to look at profit share as a way of fulfilling our wealth by creating that passive income. Because based on that, they have probably in their life since they've been with Keller Williams and their profit share, probably made in excess of probably 12 or 13 million now. And it's going up a couple million a year. So something to think about. That's a dysfunction. We in real estate, we want a duplicatable, we want a predictable business. Where's our dysfunction with a really simple way of creating tremendous amount of money in the real estate business what activity are we dysfunctional in, do you think? What's the simplest way, other than profit share, what's the next simplest way for us to make a ton of money and get it year in and year out?
Lead with revenue. Listings.
Lead with revenue.
Listings.
Database.
Database. I have friends doing thousands of closings a year off their database. People in Keller Williams are now building huge databases where suddenly they're getting 400 closings, 800 closings. The friend I talked about, he did 2012 closings last year, all off of his database. I talked to him 3 weeks ago. He's tracking 2,600 this year, all off of his database. Doesn't work anybody else. Doesn't call FSBOs, doesn't call expired, just works his database. 26 over. He think he'll hit over 2,600 closings. No, how big is his database? 195,000 people. But remember, he started with what?
One or 10 or 100.
Started with one. One day in his career, he had one. Now, I coached him starting in April of 2000. I think he started his career in 1999. So at one point, he had one person in his database. He does a lot of calling. His team still does a lot of calling. Everybody calls 3 hours a day. They make, everybody on his team does 30 contacts a day, and his team has about 60 people, of which 35 are salespeople. Or he has more like 55, and 35 are salespeople. And so they're making 30 contacts a day times 35 people. That's 1,000 contacts a day. 5,000 contacts a week. That's 20,000 contacts. That's 20,000 contacts a month. There's 52 weeks in a year. Take that times 1,000. No, it's more than that. Pardon me. Yeah, it's 1,000. Let me look at it. I'll figure it out. I'm on my phone. But they're just making a lot of contacts, which means they're building their database every day. So we have a dysfunction. People don't build a database. They don't build a big database. They don't, and we're going to talk more about that. They don't really touch the people the way they should. And it's duplicatable, predictable business. Man, I didn't make a lot of money. I made in the 90s. I made with my database in 7 years, $3.5 million, and that was from 91 to 98. It was 92 to 99, I think it was. So it can be done. It was just, it wasn't. We didn't know about databases what we know today about making them bigger. And we have another dysfunction in real estate. We could make more money, and I just talked about it earlier. Why was Diana functional with her business? Because she was highly skilled. When you're highly skilled, you're getting more profit for the time spent. Grow our skills. We get rid of that dysfunction with money because we're going to be highly skilled. We're going to teach our people to be highly skilled, and we create a lot of cash flow there. So what are some of the things that you think are keeping you from building a big database and touching it regularly? Are there things that are getting in our way that we should be able to overcome? What are some of the things that get in your way from creating that big database and touching that big database? Anybody want to share?
I feel like
Go ahead. I feel like at a team level, when I was smaller and it was just me, I had a good handle on it. And when I got leveraged, I didn't transition well from doing it myself to having others do it when new agents came in, and it just got messy. And so it seems like I'm always trying to catch up and get it clean again. Yep. And, okay, so that's a great point, is kind of cleaning it up and making it work. And the key to that whole thing is what Gary would say is, what's the one thing you have to be doing with that messy database?
Communicating with it regularly.
Communicating it, whether it's messy or not, just communicate with it. So that's a great point. So we have to, Gary says one of the thieves of success in Chapter 17 in the one thing is our inability to live with chaos. Mm. When you're growing fast, according to Gary, is your business going to be messy?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So he says the first two thieves of real estate affect us when we're growing fast. Number one, that the inability to say no in appropriate places. And the inability to say no kind of boils back down to what we talked about earlier is getting the most out of what you do, because when somebody says, can you do this, and it's not getting the most out of what you do, and we say yes, we just sabotaged our own business because we're not doing the appropriate thing at the appropriate time. We're doing the inappropriate thing at the inappropriate time, and so it's costing our business money. Same thing with your team if they're not doing that. So the inability to say no to things that are inappropriate for the time, and number two is the inability to live with chaos. So that's really, I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of you are growing your businesses and you're growing quickly, and it feels like it's always in chaos. Well, even if it's in chaos, we just have to say, okay, we're in chaos, and things may not be perfectly clean, and we're still going to have to do the business anyway. And that's hard, especially when you're dealing with the customer service part, right? You put it in the contract, and your contract people aren't quite ready for it. That means you might have to spend some extra time with them to get them better. Don't grow because they're not perfect. Grow and then get them, accelerate their learning so you can get them better faster. And there will be some chaos, and there probably could be a ton of chaos, and so much so that you almost don't trust your team. Well, then it becomes a training issue, and then we got to spend time with our schedule to make sure they're getting the training. And so it gives us a great opportunity, and that's really, to me, is a dysfunction of the business, is that we've got the potential to make tons of money off of our database. The nice thing about it is it's year in and year out, year in and year out, and year in and year out. So one is getting a handle on it, getting control of it, and not have it be in chaos. Anything else that's keeping us from really leveraging that database for our wealth? Anything else you guys say?
I guess I get analysis paralysis.
There you go.
Coming up with a way to methodically contact my database.
Perfect. And I'm going to tell you that's the number one thing. That's the number one thing. And would you like that, the questions on that answered for you?
Most definitely.
Okay, good. So for everybody on the call, this is the Gary 36 Touch, which will come into the new MREA when we're getting around to writing a book. So right now, Gary feels that building a technology company is more important than writing a book. And what are some of the things that have just happened recently that's making technology for Keller Williams more important than ever? What happened in the last week? Redfin going public. Redfin now has $2 billion. They did 26,000 deals last year. We did hundreds of thousands. And the thing of it is, they now have $2 billion to fight us with. Well, one of the best ways of eliminating the fight is to build a relationship with people so they'll never even what?
Want to leave you or go somewhere else.
Yeah, they're not. That's exactly right. They won't think about going to Redfin. They won't think about checking Zillow, because you have absolutely positively trained them that anything related to real estate, they talk to whom?
Me.
Yeah, they talk to you, and you train them. You can, Pavlov's dog's theory. When the bell rang, the dog salivated because the food was going to drop. Even if the food didn't drop, it salivated. Here's the thing. We want to train them that, and Gary even said to his group, I'm very disappointed. There's a company called Angie's List out there. I'm very disappointed in you guys because there's a thing called Home Advisors out there. He says those two companies should not exist. Whose job would it be to find plumbers and electricians for your clients?
Mine.
That's our job.
Yeah, it's ours. And our dysfunction said, well, you know what? I don't want to talk to them about things like that. I don't want to do that. So then Angie's List comes up, and she's making more money than any of us doing our job. So that's what Gary's saying. Build a community. What's the largest community database in the world today, do you think?
Amazon.
Think about Amazon. What part of Amazon?
Customer of the buying that people have bought.
That's a database. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a database. And how many times does Amazon touch you a day?
A
We
zillion.
go, well, I don't want to touch them every 10 days. Well, wait a second. Amazon Prime's touching you all the time. And last week they had Amazon Prime Day. How much did they advertise that one? All the time. And now they're advertising, what is it, next week? Or was it this week? They're going to hire 50,000 people to go to work for them?
Mm-hmm.
And they've been promoting that. They promote, we just have to combat them, because when you put them in your community, and you have 5,000 people in your community, and you're getting a 3% return on your 5,000 people, that's 150 closings. And then you stay in touch with them even more, and you stay in touch with them even more, and you do a better job, and you follow up, and all of a sudden you get an 8% return. Now you're doing 400 closings. That's the potential of a database. It's huge wealth, and we don't play with it. So here's your touches. 36 touches is the new one. Jay went through it at Megatech last year. Number 1, 4 contacts a year by phone and or in person. Depending on the size of your database, more likely by phone than in person. And remember, when you call a database, a message is a touch. A message is a touch. So you touch everybody in your database 4 times a year. And then he says it's 4 times a year calendar-wise. So 1 time a quarter. Once in the first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. You touch them with a message of value. Message of value could be the sun came up this morning. Congratulations. It doesn't need to be earth-shaking. We want to give them information that go, oh, wow, look at what they did for me. So we want to call them with a little bit of value and really just a touch base, see how they're doing. What would be value for a client?
What's going on in the market?
Interest rates have gone down.
Interest rates have gone down. How about happy birthday? Yeah, how
We
about
sing
happy birthday?
Yeah, we sing happy birthday to all our clients in our
There you go. So it could be their birthday. It could be
Anniversary of their house purchase?
Yep, there you go. I'd stay away from wedding anniversaries. I did that one once and called it an inappropriate time, so I gave up on that one. That was not well planned on my part. So there's things you could call them about. Diana used to call her clients as part of her calling program just to wish them happy, Merry Christmas, and more importantly, Happy Valentine's Day, or Happy 4th of July even. So we could be calling them. We're just communicating with them And then when we get a chance to talk to them, we're training them on how to give us referrals. So we talk to them 4 times a year. And Gary says, if you're only going to do one of these 4, that's the one to do. So I always talk about the human communication. There was a book written in the late 70s by John Nesbitt. He said, high tech will still require high touch. And right now, we know most people that buy a house go to look online, and who do they still buy their house with?
Realtors.
Realtors. We're still going to sell 5.5 to 5.7 million houses this year. That means that's 11 to 11.4 million sites. There's plenty of room for us to be wealthy. Okay, number 2.
Can I say something real quick? A few years ago,
Sure.
I had an old email send out spam, and I closed 2 deals off the spam.
There you go. Yep. You never know. You never know. And don't be afraid to call your old clients. Speaking of that, I had a lady I was coaching. I said, I want you to call all your old clients, because she was only calling the recent ones. She said, well, my first client, she'd been in the real business for 26 years. I said, I want you to call your clients old and new. She called her old client. She hadn't talked to her in 26 years. 26 years since she talked to her last at the closing. And she says, hi, and the lady says, oh, gosh, I see you're really doing well in real estate. I see your signs everywhere. She said, yep, I'm doing well. She said, wow, it's been a long time. Yep. Well, you know, my daughter who was 3, who is now 29, she's thinking about buying a house. I was wondering if you could meet with her and help her. Here's the thing. They don't know you're supposed to be calling them all the time. So whenever you start, you can just start. And if you feel bad about it, apologize. You know, I owe you an apology. I should have been staying in touch with you more. So call them 4 times a year. Number 2, do 2 client events a year. 2 client events a year. Okay? That would be movies. That would be a client party. It would be pies at Thanksgiving. Just an event where you get all your clients together. Number 3 is biweekly touches through email or video emails. And those would be at least 12 of those would be market updates. So biweekly means every other week. So that'd be 26 messages a year. And you can talk to agents in your office, see what they're doing. There's a company called Viral Marketing, VYRAL, that has some of those things already lined out for you. Here's the thing. It doesn't need to be creative. It needs to be consistent every other week. You could just say, you know what, this week we have 3 new plumbers added to our concierge list. Start a concierge service. Just say, you know, we now added 3 plumbers, and they'll give you a 10% discount. Use our plumbers. Give us a call if you have a need for a plumber. Or we added a roofer, we added a plumber, and we added an electrician. If you need any of those, call us. They will give you a discount. We follow on their reviews, and they all have great reviews, and so we've pre-screened them for you. That's something of value to them, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't need to be, I have to be. Yeah. That's the thing. We overanalyze what we need to give them. We just give them something and to be there. And you know, 12 of the 26 are going to be market updates. And now the people that are doing videos, they're doing it where they're giving them, you know, they're telling them right up front, this is a 62-second market update. A friend of mine I used to coach, started it in Cincinnati by just saying, okay, here's your 67-second market update. And he just talks about market update, which is homes in his Cincinnati are going up in value. In fact, we're seeing more appreciation than we've ever seen in our life. If you're thinking of selling, give us a call. And if you want to learn more about your house and the market, call us. So he's giving a little bit of what's happening in the market, what it means to them. As a seller, you can sell your house for more money. Call and find out how. give us a call. That's all he's doing. He's not giving him a detailed rundown. He says, here's what's happening if you're a seller. Here's what's happening if you're a buyer. We've got some programs set up where we can find houses before they hit the market. So
Tony, how many
it's
times?
that kind of information. Pardon?
How many times?
How many what?
How many times are these updates?
26 times a year, every other week.
Mm-hmm.
You do it.
So 26 times. And you notice I said email and video email? Does that cost you any money?
Hope they don't give it to them.
26 free touches. Cost you maybe a little time to develop the videos. Once you get these things started, most of these people that are doing videos, Hector, they're doing one-take videos for a minute and a half, 60 to 90 seconds these things are. They can knock out 2 of them in a month, and they probably don't spend 10 minutes knocking them out. And remember, your admin leverages everything else, so they do all the work on getting them on. So we got 4 calls, 2 events is 6, 26 touches is 32, and then you do 4 promotions. And you find vendors that want to give your clients promotion, value through discounts of some kind. So like in April, I used to send to my clients, my CPA, would get everybody a 30-minute free consultation. Well, most tax consultations take more than 30 minutes, so the first 30 minutes are free, and then he made money after that. So he had a lot of people calling him for tax consultations because they knew I used them, and I thought he was really good. And he would save them money in their taxes, and then he became a client. So there's things you could do that would be seasonal. Easter, maybe find a florist that would give discounts on lilies, Easter lilies or something like that. So you can get creative. There's only 4 times a year, so maybe once a quarter. And if you're calling early in the quarter, then you might do this late in the quarter. So there you go. There's 36 touches, 4 phone calls, 2 client events, 26 biweekly informational touches, and 4 promotions. And then just really, and the big thing is building a database. It can't be 500 people. 500 people databases aren't valid anymore. 1,000 people databases aren't that valid anymore. I'd get to 2,500 as fast as you could, then to grow it to 5,000 and get to 10,000. You want to be in the Gary group? A lot of those people are now crossing over 100,000 people in their database. Well, how do you add so many people? Remember what Gary says, they're a met. How fast you meet somebody over the internet, like through a boomtown, or you buy a lead, or you meet a bunch of people by a promotion you may do, or you do open houses, you do a level 5 open houses. I've got an ex-client, I don't coach anymore, but I have a client, they were at the Mastermind in Los Angeles. They added 425 people to their database one weekend by doing 4 open houses. They had their entire team knock all 4 open houses. They knocked 150 doors per open house, and they have a database of about 3,000 people, and they invited all 3,000 people to their open house, and they added 400 people that were new, and some of their clients came. Those 4 open houses they're in Pasadena, California. They had 600 people showing up at those 4 open houses. And somebody said, well, how do you get more people to your open house? And they said, you just invite more people. Don't stick an ad in the paper. You put up a lot of signs, and you just invite the world. So all you're doing is looking for ways to add people to that database. So get to 2,500 as fast as you can. Grow it to 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 over the next 5 years. and get a 3 to 5% to a 10% return. You're doing hundreds and hundreds of closings. You've never left your database. You're making lots of money. You're running it inexpensively because you're not spending a fortune on marketing because you're going back to the same people over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And you're creating tons of wealth, and you're keeping Gary's 40% or better. Wow. What an uncomplicated business that is, and you're in your database. Making sense?
Yeah.
So I've even gone over the 45 minutes. I apologize for that. I just felt you guys really have an opportunity to pick Gary's brain, and you just got it. You got 50 minutes or 52 minutes of Gary Keller at his best. So what were some of your ahas from this call, or you're going to go, wow, I hadn't thought of that, or wow, I am definitely going to implement that idea? Just give me 2 or 3, and then I'll let you guys go since it's taken more than the time allotted.
Stop overthinking the database.
Yeah.
Stop overthinking there you go. Just do it, right? I think somebody has that slogan.
It's going to be messy sometimes, but just get in there.
It's going to be
messy, not creative.
Okay, there you go. It's the consistency, not the creativity about that thing. What I did is, you know what I do, because you get it at bold. I just sent my listings every other week. My listings one time, and then the second 2 weeks I sent all the buyers I was working with. See, I was always taught that if you're going to touch them, only touch them with real estate stuff. I didn't send recipes. I'm not a cook. Somebody said, tell me about that recipe. I'm going, I don't know. I bought it and sent it to you. I don't know. I don't know how to cook. I have a cook. She knows how to cook. I don't. I know how to sell real estate. So I want to talk to you about real estate. So don't think it has to be earth-shaking information. It just has to be information interpreted to what you know. So great point. One more aha, and then I'll let you go.
Create a master admin.
Create a master admin. Absolutely. A master admin can make you tons of money because it gets you out of the 80% you shouldn't be doing and puts you totally into the what?
20% you should be doing.
The 20% you should be doing. So I want to thank Jordan and Barrett for making this call possible. I want to thank you guys for participating at the level you did. You guys were phenomenal in your participation. I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Tony. Mega Camp, okay?
You're awesome.
Yay.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, have a great one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.